We are now in the guard's room. The personal guard of Emperor Franz Joseph was stationed in this room to keep watch over the entrance to the emperor's apartments. As you can see on the right, the palace was heated with stoves made of ceramic, so that the imperial family was not disturbed, and to reduce the amount of dirt, the stoves were stoked from a passage running behind the walls of the rooms. Originally, the stoves were heated with wood, but in the 19th century, a steam heating system was installed. This was not taken out of service until 1992.
Incidentally, the music accompanying this tour is performed by the Schönbrunn Palace Orchestra and was recorded in the Orangery. You can listen to the Palace Orchestra live in the Orangery every evening from 8:30 p.m. Now we proceed to the next room, the billiard room. This room served as a waiting room for people attending an audience with Emperor Franz Joseph. Imperial audiences were held twice a week. The billiard table, which belonged to Franz Joseph's grandfather, Emperor Franz I of Austria, was used by army officials to pass the time. On the walls, you can see 3 large paintings. The central paintings depict the first awarding of the Order of Maria Theresa in 1758. Founded by Maria Theresa, this was the monarchy's first order of merit and one of the highest honours bestowed by the imperial dynasty. The paintings on the left and right commemorate the centennial anniversary of the order's foundation. Franz Joseph held a magnificent banquet in the Great Gallery, which you will see later on this tour, as well as a reception in the palace grounds to mark the event. In 1854, Franz Joseph married his cousin Elizabeth, who was just 16 years old at the time. This room was furnished and decorated as their bedroom on the occasion of their marriage. Franz Joseph worshipped his wife all his life. Whether this affection was returned to the same degree remains a matter of speculation. Many years later, Elizabeth wrote,
"Marriage is an absurd institution. One is sold as a 15-year-old child and makes a vow that one does not understand, and then regrets for 30 years or longer, but cannot undo."
Elizabeth rejected the structures of court life from the very beginning, and over the course of the years developed into a self-confident woman. She led an independent life, travelling extensively, and was rarely seen to be in Vienna. In September 1898, at the age of 61, Elizabeth was stabbed to death with a file by the Italian anarchist Luigi Lucchini in Geneva. The children's room is decorated with portraits of Maria Theresa's daughters. Most of her 11 daughters were married off at a young age for political reasons. When her daughter Maria Josepha was about to be married off, she wrote,
"I regard poor Josepha as a victim of politics. If, by the by, she only fulfills her duty towards God and her husband, and sees to the salvation of her soul, then I shall be content, even if she were to be unhappy."
On the left, just beside the door, is the portrait of Maria Christine, Maria Theresa's favourite daughter. The only one of her daughters allowed to marry for love. Her husband was Albert of Saxony-Teschen, the founder of the Albertina. Here you can take a look into a bathroom which was installed for Zita, the last Habsburg empress, in 1917. Before you go into the next room, you can have a look into the breakfast cabinet. The applique works and the medallions decorated the walls were executed by Elizabeth Christine, the mother of Maria Theresa, and is yet another example of how the imperial family contributed to the decoration of the interior of the palace. This room, like the other two that follow, is named after Joseph Rosa, the painter of the landscapes that can be seen here. The first painting on the left of the door you have just come through depicts the Habsburgsburg in Aargau in Switzerland, which is the ancestral seat of the Habsburg dynasty. Here you can see the portrait of Emperor Franz Stephen of Lorraine, surrounded by various objects that speak of his artistic, historical, and scientific interests. He was elected Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, while his wife Maria Theresa ruled over the Habsburg crown lands. She had to defend her inheritance after the death of her father Charles VI in the War of the Austrian Succession. With his considerable financial expertise, Franz I played an important part in remediating the parlous state of the imperial treasury. Please proceed to the next 3 rooms until you get to room number 21, the Great Gallery. You are now in the Great Gallery, which was used by the imperial family for ballroom occasions, receptions and banquets. More than 40 meters long and almost 10 meters wide, the Great Gallery formed an ideal setting for festive events at court. Decorated with crystal glass mirrors, gilt stucco work and ceiling frescoes, it represents a sumptuous example of Rococo art. The frescoes are by Italian painter Gregorio Guglielmi and represent a glorification of Maria Theresia's reign. In the central fresco, we see Franz Stephan and Maria Theresa enthroned and surrounded by the personifications of the ruler's virtues, together with allegories of the crown lands of the monarchy. The 2 carved and gilded wooden chandeliers used to take 70 candles each before the palace was electrified in 1901. Since the end of the monarchy, the Great Gallery has been used for concerts. In 1961, it was also the setting for the historic meeting between President Kennedy and his Russian counterpart Khrushchev. Please proceed to the small gallery, which lies on the side of the palace facing the gardens. It was used for birthday celebrations and offers a wonderful view of the park and the Gloriette, which was built during Maria Theresa's reign, on the crest of the hill opposite the palace. During recent restoration work, the small gallery has had its original glossy white finish, dating back to the 19th century, restored. In order to convey an authentic impression of the room, the wall lights have been fitted with special bulbs that imitate the flicker of candlelight, thus animating the glossy surfaces of the walls.
This room gets its name from the precious walnut paneling, which together with its gilded ornamentation and the console tables belong to the original Rococo decor from the time of Maria Theresa. The chandelier dates from the 19th century. It was in this room that Franz Joseph received people who had requested an audience. They would come for an audience in order to thank the monarch for the award of an honor, to lodge a request, or to present themselves on receiving an official position. These audiences lasted for a few minutes and were brought to an end by the emperor inclining his head slightly and pronouncing in an unvarying formula that the audience had been a pleasure for him. You will now hear an original recording of the emperor saying this phrase.
The Habsburgs were passionately fond of hunting and shooting. On the left hand of the room you will see portraits of Maria Theresia's parents, Charles VI and his wife Elizabeth Christine, in hunting costume. Between them is Franz Stephan, later husband of Maria Theresia, as a boy. Franz Joseph was also famous for his passion for shooting. Even as a child he shot sparrows and pigeons in the park of Schönbrunn. The Habsburgs were passionately fond of hunting and shooting. On the left side of the room you can see portraits of Maria Theresia's parents, Charles VI and his wife Elizabeth Christine, in hunting costume. Between them is Franz Stephan, later husband of Maria Theresia, as a boy. Franz Joseph was also famous for his passion for shooting, and even as a child he shot sparrows and pigeons in the park of Schönbrunn. To the right of the door is a painting which shows Schönbrunn in its earlier form as a hunting lodge designed by Fischer von Erlach. This concludes our tour of the imperial apartments and staterooms on the first floor. You have now arrived in the last room of your tour. Thank you for visiting Schönbrunn Palace. We will be pleased to welcome you to Schönbrunn Zoo, as well as to the collections of the Imperial Furniture Collection, to the Imperial Apartments with the Sissi Museum, and to the Imperial Silver Collection in the Vienna Hofburg. As well as visiting the Hofburg, the city residence of the Imperial Habsburg dynasty, why not take the opportunity of touring Schloss Hof, a magnificent Habsburg palace with unique Baroque gardens only an hour's drive from Vienna. Please don't forget to place your audio guide in the designated basket. Thank you for visiting Schönbrunn Palace. Goodbye.